Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Lo-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 2011280L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with RNJ. I'm Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio. And the Bronx Bombers lived up to their name last night, hitting 9 home runs, tying a franchise record, which they set right at the beginning of the season against the Brewers, hitting 9 home runs. So big night for the Yankees. You got 2 from Stanton, 2 from Bellinger, Cabrera. He hit 2 as well. Judge led the game off with a home run. So big night for the Yankees. And we said this last week. Are they starting to turn the corner? Is this Yankees team starting to turn the corner? I like their offense. The concern I do have for them though is Max Fried's got to get right. If Max Fried could get right, I think they are, because I think they found their solution at the end of the game with Bernard. But Max Fried has got to get right. That's the big thing for the Yankees right now. Fried has got to get right. But everything else, the offense, 31 runs in their last 3 games. That's been great. So I do think they've won 4 in a row. They've won 6 out of 7. 6 out of 7. So yeah. I it's tough for me to say they've completely turned the corner, but they're starting to. But I would like to see Max Fried pitch well this weekend against the Red Sox.
Yeah, they need a big start for Max Fried on Saturday. I'm still starting to buy back in a little bit, but I'm not. I said it last week. Take 3 out of 4 against Boston this weekend, and I'll fully buy back in on the team. But they played. Look, they've taken care of business against 3 teams right now that are dead teams walking. And credit for that, because they got swept by Miami. They were not playing good baseball. So at least they're starting to play better against some of these bad teams. But the Cardinals this weekend look like the New York Yankees with some of their fielding stuff, the base, the Cardinals look like you out there, just a worse version. But so yeah, the offense is starting to look better. But I still just need to see them play a team that has somewhat of a pulse yet this year, and we'll get that this week against the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, we will. Even though the Red Sox have lost 3 in a row, we'll definitely get that against them. And yeah, I know they're hot. We'll give it to them, but you got to look at the opponents. I mean, the Twins, they won 2 out of 3 against, but the Twins, they traded everyone at the trade deadline. The Cardinals, they swept them. Good sweep, but they were sellers at the trade deadline. And then last night, you played the Rays, who are under 500. So you got to look at the opponents, but it is nice to see them turning things around to make this interesting.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is, because a couple bad days here for Boston and Seattle, and you're back in first place in the wildcard standings. So, you picked up a game or 2 on Toronto as well lately. So, yeah, this 8-game stretch, the worst they're going to do is 6-2, and I was afraid they're going to go 4-4. So, if you cap it off tonight, go 7-1. Another blowout would be nice, so that you could have Weaver, Bednard. Hopefully the ball gets right, and you could have those 3 guys available 3 out of the 4 games if you need be. So, but yeah, it's nice to turn it. It's nice that they're beating up on the lesser competition, because that's something they really haven't done. Because even, I know this is back in late May, but when they played the Rockies, the Rockies had a chance to walk off on them that Sunday. They're only down like a run going that ninth inning. I think they had a guy or two on. So like they almost lost the series to the Rockies early in the year. So it is nice that they're starting to take care of bad teams. And it'd be nice if you go out there and get a sweep too, because I know it's only a 2-game set, but you really have not played well against your division the last couple years. So to get a sweep, I know Tampa Bay coming off like a 12-game road trip here, but it'd be nice to actually, win one of these division series too.
It would be, and tonight's a tough game though because Rasmussen's pitching and that's their best pitcher, and we have a young guy going with Schilkler going for the Yankees. So tonight's gonna be a tough game, but yeah, it'd be really nice to go 7-1 in this stretch. It really would because there was a lot of doubt after they lost that last game to the Astros about a week and a half ago.
Yeah, there was. I'll admit, I took them plus 270 in this playoffs. I was that done with the team, and I didn't think that they had much of a chance left, but they've been playing well since then. So, they've put themselves in better position now, and which is good. But yeah, Raston, he's given the Yankees problems over the years, and I can't imagine Stanton's going to be in the lineup tonight. And his last 29 games, he's like batting 359 with 13 homers and 32 ribbies. So he's on fire. I can't imagine he's in the lineup getting ready for Boston this week. I can't imagine that they're going to play him 6 straight games. Because you're gonna need him all 4 days. I know they're gonna have to push him here, but yeah, tonight would be nice. I know Schiller's got good stuff. Like the upside's there. I'm excited to kind of see how they continue to develop. Because again, he's still probably a year early here. So yeah, tonight would be a nice one to get. But Rasmussen's been tough on the Yankees.
He definitely has been. Rasmussen's been tough, and that is going to be a tough one. But you talked about Stanton; he's been really good. I'm hoping eventually they can get Judge back to the outfield soon because that'd be nice to just have Stanton as the DH and get Judge back in the outfield.
My one worry is like in a big spot, like with the winning run or a game tying run, rounding hole, or rounding third. Judge is going to throw it 100 miles. Like I'm afraid that. Because I know Judge says he wants to get back out there. I'm just worried that because I don't trust the Yankees with the injury stuff. So like I don't need to see him go on Tommy John. So yeah, it'd be nice getting him back out there, but I just worry about that arm because I don't want to lose him for extended period of time, or even like if it happens at the end of this year and he misses some of next year. But it'd be nice because that's your best lineup. If Judge is in right field and you could DH Stan every day. But yeah, I'm just worried that I just don't want him to blow out that arm.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to blow out that arm. You definitely don't. And yeah, it's a nice. Yeah, it's tonight. Tonight's gonna be a tough game. Tonight's gonna be a tough game between with Rasmussen, but it would be nice to win it. It definitely would be nice to win it. But moving on to this weekend, they got a big series with the Red Sox. You got on Thursday. You got Luis Gil against Giolito, who's been pitching well. You got the 3 best pitchers the Red Sox are trying out. They got Giolito, they got Bello, and they got Crochet. So they're trying out, even though they're not playing well right now. They've lost three straight at Fenway to the Marlins and the Orioles. They are trying out their 3 best pitchers this week with Giolito, with Bello, and Crochet. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But you got Thursday night. You got Gil against Giolito. Friday, Max Fried. It's a big spot for Max Fried to get things back going again. It's a big spot for him against Brian Bello on Friday night. On Saturday, you got Will Warren against Garrett Crochet. It's gonna be a tough, probably the toughest game of the series, facing Crochet. And then Sunday night game, you got Rodon, who's been the best pitcher for the Yankees. Definitely the last couple months, he's been their best pitcher. Probably you could argue all the year he might be their most consistent pitcher against Dustin May. So I do think even though the Red Sox got their top 3 guys going, I think with the way this team's been playing, I think they take 3 out of 4 here. I think they do. I think they take confident. 3 out of 4. I'm confident. I think they take 3 out of 4 here. I think they flipped the script against the Red Sox this year. They've lost 5 out of 6, but I think they flipped the script. I think they take 3 out of 4 here. I think the only game they lose the Saturday game that Crochet pitches.
Yeah, I got the split this weekend.
I can see.
Yeah. I think the Yankees find a way to win Thursday, Sunday, and I think they go down Friday and Saturday because Fried's velocity since the All-Star break is down and his spin rate is down, so I'm worried because like he's been somebody that's been he's been on the IL a lot in his career, so I just worry that maybe he's getting to the point where the arm's tired, or I don't imagine still the blister, but maybe there's something there. Like he hasn't pitched well at all, and I think he's got his ERA since then is like a 6, so it's not been good. And I think Saturday's gonna be a tough one. but Will Warren's been pitching well, so I think he could keep him in it. But Crochet could be a tough one for him. So I'm gonna take these two to split this weekend in the Bronx.
Yeah, I mean, I could see. I definitely could see a split. I definitely could see a split, especially. Yeah, I know the Yankees have been playing well, but you said it. They really haven't played a really good team in this stretch. The Twins, are falling off. The Cardinals are below average, and the Rays are below average. So this is the team they're playing. A team they've struggled against this year, losing 5 out of 6. Even though the Red Sox are coming in struggling, but the big question is for both teams: which team needs this series more? Which team needs this series more? Now, I think both schedules are very, very favorable going forward. I know the Yankees have a tough stretch in I think the first week of September they have a tough stretch, but outside of that, it's pretty favorable. I'm just gonna say I think the Red Sox need to because there's a good chance they could be a game and a half out going into this series, and say they lose 3 out of 4, they're going to be 3.5 behind the Yankees. So I think the Red Sox need this series. I think the Red Sox need this series more. To be honest, even though they've beaten the Yankees 5 out of 6, with the way the two teams are playing, I think the Red Sox need the series more to establish a playoff spot.
I'm starting to agree. I do agree with that because the lineup's starting to cool off big time for the Sox. They had a couple bullpen explosions over the weekend. And then Sunday they probably should have put Chapman in there, but because Saturday they had to use him again. They didn't throw him Sunday, so the bullpen, couple of spots there, and with the lineup going cold, and we're starting to see some light from the Yankees that they could beat up on the Sisters of the Poor, and that's what they go back to after this with Washington and the White Sox for that tough stretch where Boston coming up. I know they got Baltimore, just swept them, and Pittsburgh. Their schedule's not great either, but yeah, I agree. I think Boston with the if they have another kind of tough weekend and the bats don't get hot again, and if somehow Yankees take 3 out of 4 from them, then yeah, maybe there's a little bit of question, and maybe because they didn't do a ton at the trade deadline, maybe that conversation starts to pop back up again about Brazil didn't do enough here, or the guys that he got. Because May, I think the numbers haven't been bad, but I don't, I think at some point there's gonna be a little bit more regression, and Steven Matz hasn't pitched well at all. So the guys that they picked up. Matz hasn't been great. May's been all right, but I think those questions could start to pop up yet again.
I'm glad you brought that up because you're right about that. Because if you compare what the Yankees did at the deadline to the Red Sox, it's almost night and day. The Red Sox really didn't do much at all at the trade deadline. They really didn't. Now, they did a really good job in the offseason getting Crochet and signing Bregman, signing Giolito. They did a really good job in the offseason to improve this team. But they really didn't improve it at the trade deadline when there were areas of the team that needed to be improved. Depth in the rotation. But they needed some bullpen help. As you've seen, need some bullpen help. The lineup that the last couple of nights that could be upgraded, especially at first base. They got Nathaniel Lowe with the big home run last night.
That pick up.
That needed to be upgraded too. So you're very right. Say the Red Sox, lose 3 out of 4, and they're 3.5 games behind the Yankees, and somehow like Kansas City comes back and takes over, or the Guardians end up taking over that last wild card spot. You're gonna hear criticism of Craig Breslow not doing that much at the trade deadline, because this would be 2 trade deadlines in a row where he really didn't improve the team that much.
Yeah, he didn't. I kind of said to time too, I thought he gave up too much for Matz and May. And yeah, it hasn't, and for a little bit it looked like it was working for the first couple of weeks. Now you're kind of seeing that lineup start to cool off a little bit, which they were swinging the bat so well, and they've lost 3 straight at Fenway, and after they won, is it 15 out of 60? They had an impressive run at Fenway there for a little bit too. So yeah, they're starting to come back down to earth here a little bit. The starting pitching's still been all right, but yeah, that bullpen, Chapman's been great all year, and it's been a surprise. But that bullpen too, I think we're so late. Maybe you can't say now, but it's they've been pitching. A lot of those guys have been pitching over the skis most of the year, but it feels but Justin Wilson, 37 now, he's been a really good left-hander for him. So yeah, and I did like the Nathaniel Lowe pickup because Romy pieces off lefties, Lowe's a left-handed bat, and hits righties pretty well. So if Goldsmith went on the IL, I know he's healthy now. I wanted the Yankees to actually pick up Lowe just to cover first base for a couple of days, But I think that was a good pickup for him. But yeah, it's they should have done more, and I just think they gave up too much at the trade deadline.
Yeah, they gave up prospects to get like Matz and, as you said,
May.
and Dustin May. And yeah. I mean, they could have, yeah. But yeah, if they were going to give up, big prospects, pretty good prospects, they should have, got better guys, and they didn't. So, and another thing with the lineup too, it seems like they platoon at a lot of positions. They platoon at first base, platoon at second base, they platoon at catcher. Pretty much, there's two positions they really don't platoon at now: is shortstop and third base, because they got Story and Bregman. So they do. I know, Devers hasn't seemed like a loss, but it's caused them to platoon a ton in the lineup.
Yeah, Coors, I think, has always kind of done that because, like, their bench has always been guys that, like, Romy's really good against, the left-handers, left-handed pitchers, and, they've been so left-handed heavy, too, where they try to get those lefties out of the line because most of them aren't great against left-handers. So, yeah, Coors, they've done that a lot, and, they have the options. But, yeah, it's kind of like the Yankees where every night's a different lineup. So I think it's tough that way. Like, I think you want a consistent lineup every night in, night out. And yeah, they really haven't had that much of this year. Yeah, because Bregman and Story are the only two, and they'd be, and then because even Marcel Mao was hurt. Yeah, he's probably not playing short, but they're moving him all around all over the place because he came up as more of a shortstop. But yeah, it's just I think it's I think you like to have different options like they do, but you wish you could fill up one lineup card every day and kind of have a set nine, which they don't have. But you're always kind of moving the pieces. But the Yankees are kind of the same way. It feels like maybe not as much so, but they're kind of but yeah, they do platoon a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the Yankees, I don't think platoon as much. I mean, obviously, Judge is in the lineup every day. Stanton, when he's healthy, Stanton now that he can play the field when he's healthy, he's in the lineup every day. It seems like Bellinger's in the lineup every day. It seems like Jazz is in the lineup mostly every day. It seems like Volpe's obviously in the lineup. And I don't know if we love that, but Volpe's in the lineup every day. So there's 4 or 5 guys the Yankees have that are pretty much consistently in their lineup. Where the Red Sox, there's really 2. There's really 2 guys that they have in their lineup. Now, they scored a lot of runs because it's worked, but you're starting to see these last couple of games, you're starting to see now, and so it's really a 3-game sample size, so I'm not going to make a huge deal of it, but you're starting to see a little bit how that could just pretty much you have 2 really good hitters and everyone else is average.
Yeah, because they had twice last night, 8th inning, 10th inning, where they had bases loaded. One of them, 0, and I think 1 out in the 10th inning, and they couldn't get 1 run in last night. I know Lowe hit the big home run last night in the 9th inning, but yeah, I think some of that where they've had guys come up big spots and they haven't produced the last couple of nights, but yeah, the Yankees have a little bit more set. I know like they brought in like Rosario, Slater, like the guys Caballero to start to try to lefty righty kind of matchups and to give Boone more flexibility, which is nice. So I think I should have done more. The Yankees have more flexibility, kind of. They do it more for flexibility purposes, but yeah, the Red Sox. Yeah, it's tough, when you just have 2 consistent guys there every night. Especially with all these young guys they have. I know, Anthony's been at the top of the lineup, but you do want those guys in there every day. Because they do have so many young guys that, you want to see them in there every day. And I know they've done that pretty good for the most part. But yeah, it's a little tough and it's a little, they've come up in big spots, and yeah, some of those platoon guys now are starting to maybe cool off here the last couple of days against, I know Roger's been good, but Miami's got a couple of good pitchers, but yeah, they could have done more the last couple of days in those 3 losses.
Yeah, I agree. I think they definitely could. I think they definitely could have. They definitely could. They could definitely move the lineup around. So this is an interesting series. I mean, I'd say this is probably the biggest because it's where the teams are in the standings. This is the biggest series between the 2 teams, and I would. It wasn't a series when they played in that wild card game, but I think this is the biggest it's been between these 2 teams since that wild card game in 2021.
Yeah, I would agree with you because the last couple of years, Boston really hasn't been relevant, and I know the Yankees had the 1 year 2 there in 2023 when they weren't either. So yeah, for the first time in quite a while here, it's been a meaningful series. So yeah, I agree with you. I think this is probably the biggest series in this rivalry since 2020. Yeah, since 2021 that wild card game.
Yeah, I agree. And it should be interesting this weekend in the Bronx. But before we wrap up baseball, we'll talk about Zach Wheeler, who's going to be out for indefinitely for the Phillies. And the question is here with the Phillies, can this team get to the World Series without him? Can they get to the World Series without him? I'll start. For me, I think they can because they think their lineup is getting healthy. But it's going to and Ranger Suarez and Christopher Sanchez has had a great year. Ranger Suarez has had a good year. But it's going to be tough. But they did add to the bullpen with Duran. They did add to the bullpen there, but it's going to be tough. But I'm not going to count them out because it's baseball. Anything could happen. And they still got a good lineup. Duran's a good closer in the bullpen, and they got two pretty good starting pitchers. So I'm not going to completely count them out. But this definitely really hurts them in terms of competing with the Dodgers and the Phillies.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, because Wheel's a huge loss. He's been really good, and you can make the case he's going to be right there at the end for the Cy Young Award. He's been that good this year, and yeah, you wonder now who's that number 4 starter is going to be the postseason. Is it going to be Walker? Because I don't think he could do it. Aaron Nola has been so bad, and it's been surprising how bad he's pitched this year. He's got almost 70 ERA right now, so. That's kind of a worry for me. Their bullpen's been better now with Duran. That was a huge pickup. Their lineup's still pretty stacked here, but they're pretty healthy pretty much elsewhere right now. Schwarber, he's been on a tear of late too here. So I think the Phillies will still be right there. We'll see. Dodgers had a big weekend here. I'm really buying the Brewers of late. So I think it'd be tough to compete. I wouldn't be shocked though, because the way the Cubs are playing, the way the Mets have been playing, the National League isn't. I think it's going to be very tough to get out of that, but some of those teams are showing some war to the last couple of weeks. So I still could very easily see the Phillies with that lineup mashing their way into the World Series.
I could see. Oh yeah, you could see it. You could see it. I mean, because I think they're going to still win the division. I definitely think. I know they got a couple big series with the Mets coming up, but I know, and the Mets have played a little bit better recently. But I still think they're going to win the division. But they would only have to win. You'd have to win 2 series. They'd have to beat the Dodgers, and they're probably gonna, if they win the division, they'll probably match up with the Dodgers in the first round because the Dodgers will be the 2 seed, and the Brewers are going to be the 1 seed. Dodgers will be the 2 seed, so they'll probably match up with the Dodgers in the first round if they win the division. Or no, my bad. They probably will have to play in that wild card. They'll probably play in that wild card round, which I think they can get by. As you said, they can get by the Reds, the Cubs, and the Mets. So I think they can get by or the Padres. I think they can get by one of those teams. But they're going to have to play probably the Dodgers in the second round and the Brewers. So those are going to be tough, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible. The Dodgers have shown flaws this year, especially in their bullpen, and even as well as the Brewers have played. I still think they really didn't do enough. They didn't do a ton at the trade deadline to improve their team. So I do think it's possible, but it's going to be hard without Wheeler.
No, it definitely is. I get. The Brewer team's good, but they are. I guess you could say they're missing that one big guy that could hit that 3-run bomb, in the 7th inning that you could need there. And the Brewers really haven't done a ton in the postseason either. I know they knocked off the Dodgers a couple years ago, but I know they haven't done much in the recent years here in the postseason.
They lost. To the Dodgers.
They did lose that game.
They lost to the Dodgers. Yeah, they got to the NLCS, but they lost to the Dodgers.
Yeah. But yeah, so they really haven't done a ton in the playoffs. So I get kind of the pause with them. The Dodgers, the bullpen's still kind of a mess, and Kershaw, Kershaw's been unbelievable though, and he's gonna be huge for in the postseason. It's the same thing with the Padres. I need to see the Padres get out of that wild card round before I start to really, because that was a big weekend for them, and they got swept against the Dodgers. I know they'll face them again, and then. I just don't know if the Mets pitching staff is going to be able to hold up until October. It's a mess right now.
They can't get past 5 innings.
No, they can't. I think Peterson the other night gave them 7 innings for the first time. It was the first time in 2 months they got a pitcher go 7 innings. So, yeah, I think it's right there for the Phillies still, and I think with that lineup they can mash away as long as they're healthy. And I think Durant could kind of, they get the lead in the night. If they have the lead in the night, I think Durant could shut that thing down. So. Yeah, I still think that there's an opening there for the Phillies to get out of the National League.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to be the favorite, but I could see it because of the way they match. When you got Harper, when you got Schwarber, you got Trey Turner. I mean, Alex Boehm's starting to get healthy. We got Real Muto in that lineup. You definitely could match your way to the World Series. I mean, they're not going to be the favorite, but I could see that happening. But coming up next, a former Giants quarterback just won the job in Indy. But before we talk about that, we're going to hear from our friends at JPEG Financial and Shamrock Home Inspections.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEX Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEX Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEX Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glasgow. There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
All right, Justin, you called it last week. You said that Daniel Jones should be the starting quarterback for the Colts. And then yesterday, they made the announcement. Shane Steichen said that Daniel Jones will be the starting quarterback. And it's not like it's going to be temporary. It's not like he's on a short leash. He's going to be the starter for this team. And I'm a little bit surprised because watching that preseason game on Saturday, it seemed close between the two. It seemed close between Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. And I felt if it was going to be close, that they were going to go with Anthony Richardson, the number 3 overall pick. But we're not at practice every day, and Shane Steichen is, and he probably feels like Daniel Jones could operate the offense better than Jones, especially at the line of scrimmage, as we saw in that first preseason game when Anthony Richardson couldn't even pick up the blitz, a simple blitz. So I think he feels like Jones is better at the line of scrimmage, and he runs and he's better at running the offense. So he made the move, and Daniel Jones is going to be the starting quarterback.
Yeah. I think Shane Steichen, I know Chris Ballard, the GM, again, he's on the hot seat. Steichen, probably the same thing. His best chance to win right now is with Daniel Jones, not Anthony Richardson. Is Daniel Jones much of an upgrade over Anthony Richardson? No, but I think he gives him the best chance to try to get one of those wild card spots or try to knock off the Texans in the division. I know Daniel Jones is great, but this is probably the best offensive line that he's going to have protecting him. And I think this is probably going to be the best consistent running attack that he's going to have. I know he had Barkley, but a lot of that, the offensive line wasn't great. So, he's going to be able to have a consistent running game. So, Richardson just hasn't been able to pick it up and learn it. He hasn't played a ton of football. It was always a risk coming out of college. He was injured a lot, and he's been injured here. He couldn't even complete 50% of his passes last year. I just think Steichen's job's probably on the line here. The best chance to keep your job is right now, in the little bit higher upside right now, is having Daniel Jones start week 1. We've seen 3 years of Anthony Richardson now, or this is going to be his 3rd year. It was like at Florida. He'll make a good play once in a while, but he'll follow that up with a bad player too. And I don't think we're ever going to see that high ceiling that I think everybody was kind of looking and projecting was going to get from. I don't think we're going to see it at this point.
Yeah, you made a great point about Steichen's job being on the line. It is, and he's got to pick the guy that's going to win him more games, and he feels like it's Daniel Jones. He feels like it's Daniel Jones. And he's in practice, as I said, he's in practice every day. He's got to pick that guy. He didn't Daniel Jones. So yeah, it's a great point because Steichen's job is definitely on the line. Chris Ballard's job is absolutely on the line too. And this regime has to win games. If this regime wins like 6-7 games, they're going to get fired. Steichen's going to get fired. And so was Chris Ballard. There was rumors they were going to get fired at the end of last season. So they got to win games, and from what they've seen so far, it looks like Daniel Jones is going to give them the best chance to win games.
Yeah, and it seems like, again, and that's the case. Yeah, you gotta go with him. And I know Ballard probably would love to see Anthony Richardson in there. But again, I just don't think it can, and especially if he goes out there week 1 and throws 3 interceptions. The Colt fans are going to be wanting Daniel Jones to get in there, and then that's just going to break Anthony Richardson. So, like, I think, I know it's come out that, his agent's not happy with the way the Colts are treating this and all that, but, like, they weren't going to be in a win. It was going to be a lose-lose situation for him because, like, if Richardson doesn't go play well, then, the fans are going to be booing you for to bring in, Daniel Jones, and you're going to break his confidence that way. So it was a lose-lose situation going in for the Colts. So, ride it with Jones, especially when week 1 you got a winnable game against Miami and try to get off the right foot.
You're right. Yeah, definitely. You definitely. This is a season where this team has to get off on the right foot. They do, or as I said, if this team doesn't get off on the right foot, this regime is done. This regime is done. So yeah, you got to get started on the right foot. I think you have to pick the guy who's going to win you games. I mean, in their opinion, it's Daniel Jones. I mean, I said last week if it's close, go with Anthony Richardson because you can't go back. But this regime feels that they have to win. They have to win games early on, and they have the Titans too early on and the Raiders. So there's a good chance they can get up to like a 3-2 start. So they have to pick the guy that is going to give them the best chance to win games. But the other side of this is does this do for Anthony Richardson? Is his career with the Colts over? And I think if Daniel Jones stays healthy, I think it is. I think there's no coming back from this. I think he's done. The fact that he couldn't win a job. He was the number 3 overall pick, and he couldn't win the job from a guy from a quarterback who we saw a lot with the Giants, who is average at best. And Daniel Jones. I know he won a road playoff game. He had a good year in 2022, and had a decent year his rookie year in 2019. But outside of that, he's had trouble staying healthy, and he hasn't played well. So Anthony Richardson lost a job to a guy who's an average quarterback at best in this league. So that is not a good look for him. That is not a good look for him at all. And I think his time in Indy is done. I think his time in Indianapolis is done, and he's gonna have to try to resurrect his career somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's over now. I don't see him. I see this relationship ending here with the Colts, and it'll be interesting if one of these kind of QB guru coaches maybe takes a swing on him as a backup and tries to fix him in the next couple of years, and can make him like a spot starter or something. But yeah, I think it's over now. I think now that they pull the trigger here with Daniel Jones being the start of week 1, it's officially over. And I saw some of this Anthony Richardson's agent quotes, and he's not too pleased. So I would assume that it's not going to end. It's going to end here with Richardson being dealt somewhere else.
Yeah, I think so. But at the end of the day, this Daniel Jones, if he's not good, if he's not good, and the team wins 5-6 games, everyone's gone. Daniel Jones is gone, Chris Ballard's gone, and Shane Steichen's gone. So this team has got to be in the hunt late in the season, or everyone's getting fired in Indy.
Yeah, I completely agree with you with that. Especially Ballard now that this seems like the one franchise quarterback that he, they drafted out, here with Richardson's not going to pan out. And he's like, that's the big thing now. And yeah, if this team bottoms out, goes 5-6, it's going to end a disaster. I don't know if because I just thought about it, because I know the owner, Jim Irsay, that is there like the family still.
They are, yeah.
His daughters are. The family's okay, so like, I don't know if
his daughters are running the team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if it was going to be a situation where they're going to sell or something. So at least they're you're not dealing with that. But yeah, it's going to end in disaster 5-6 years. Maybe the daughters too want to start over next year. Who knows? So yeah, I think if this thing 5-6 wins, it's way over for this regime.
Yeah. I mean, this regime has to be in the hunt for this to work out. And listen, as a Giants fan, I'm happy to see Daniel Jones get another shot. I'm happy to see him get another shot. And as you said, best offensive line he's going to ever have, even better than what he had in 2022 with the Giants. Really good skill guys too, with Michael Pittman, Tyler Warren, and Alex Pierce, and Jonathan Taylor. So it should be interesting. Should be interesting to see what happens with Daniel Jones. But he got a second chance, but I feel like this is going to be his last chance to prove that he could be a starter in the league. But speaking of another team that named their starting named a starter this week, that is the Cleveland Browns, and that was Joe Flacco, who was named the starter on Monday. And the question is here: is he going to play all 17 games? And I don't think so. I think we're going to get to a point where we get post Thanksgiving, the Browns are 3-8, and I think we're going to see Shedeur Sanders. I really think we're going to see Shedeur Sanders. I think I don't know if he's going to end up beating. I think Kenny Pickett's going to get traded. I think Kenny Pickett's going to get traded somewhere. I think he's going to. I think he's going to get traded, and so it's going to be down to Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders for that number 2 spot. We'll see who ends up getting that. But I think eventually, after Thanksgiving, I think that Joe Flacco is going to be done. I think he's going to be done, and I think there's a good chance we could be seeing Shedeur Sanders playing the last 4 or 5 games for the Browns, because he was not as good in Indy last year. He's a 40-year-old quarterback. And here's the other thing. I know he had success in 2023, but the personnel is not as good. The offensive line is definitely not as good. The running game is not as good either. And the defense isn't as good. So the personnel is just not as good. So I could see Flacco getting benched with 4 or 5 games left in the season.
Yeah, I agree. Not shocked that he won the starting job here. And yeah, I could see it. Browns last month of the season or so want some butts in the seats for the final couple home games there. I could totally see Shedeur Sanders under center, trying to give him a spark, trying to win a game or two. Trying to just get fans in the building. So I agree. Yeah, Flacco, he's not mobile. You mentioned the offensive line's not very good. The running game's not good. The weapons around him aren't great either. So it's going to be a tough situation. I know they're trying to find the magic that he pulled off when he won 4 games for him a couple years ago, but that's not going to happen this time around. And I think I think everybody knows it's going to be a tough year for Cleveland. And yeah, Joe Flacco's be under center, but definitely not for all 17 games.
Yeah, it's gonna be a very, very tough year for Cleveland. Yeah, he'll start. I think they're doing this because they don't want to rush either Gabriel or Shedeur onto the field. But eventually, you're going to see one of those two probably at the end of the season, because again, it's going to be a very rough year for Cleveland. They don't have much depth at the skill positions. Their offensive line is worn down. Their defense is still decent, but it's not. It's middle of the pack. So yeah, I think it's going to be a rough year for the Browns, and I just don't think they're going to be good enough to keep Joe Flacco as starting quarterback. I think eventually he ends up getting benched. So now we will go to our takeaways from week 2 of the preseason, and I'll start. And for me, number 5 for me, Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams looked pretty good. He looked pretty. I know he was playing against the Bills twos, but he did look pretty good. He did look pretty good on Monday night against on Sunday night against the Bills. He did look good. It looked like he's improving in that offense with Ben Johnson. So I really like what I saw to Caleb Williams. I really did. I really like what I saw of him. I did, and there was a lot of talk about that. The struggles with him, and he looked good. I liked how he looked. Number 4 for me, it's going to be a matter of if Jackson Dart will start, then when he will start. It's going to be a matter of if, then when, because if you look at the way Jackson Dart has played for the Giants so far, if you look at the way he's played, he's been really good. Yes, he's played against twos, but he's been playing. He's been playing really good. He's been solid. He went 14 for 16. And he played really well in week 1 of the preseason. So he's Jackson Dart. He's looked good. So it's, to me, it's going to be a matter of and I mean a matter of when than if. I don't know. I might have said if then when. I think it's going to be a matter of when Jackson Dart is going to start than if, because he's going to play. He's going to start games. I'm very confident that he's going to start games for the Giants. So yeah, it's a matter of when he's going to start, because you look at the Giants' schedule the first 8 weeks. It's gonna be hard for them to win, 2 or 3 games. It really is. So and you're gonna get the calls early, even early in the season. You're getting talk now about Jackson Dart, starting games. So it's really and say they start 0-2, 0-3, which is very possible. Seeing that they play the Commanders, seeing that they play the Cowboys, seeing that they play that they play the Chiefs, it is very, very, very possible that you're gonna get fans wanting Jackson Dart to start. But right now he is third on the depth chart. So I'll tell you next week when I predict he's going to get in. But as I said, it's a matter of when Jackson starts. It's more of a matter of when he's going to start this year rather than if he's going to start this year, because I just don't think this Giants offense is good enough, or Russell Wilson at this stage in his career is good enough to keep his job for 17 weeks. So it's, as I said, matter of when than if Jackson Dart is going to start. Number 3, Ashton Genty. I think there's Ashton Genty. I watched him on Saturday, averaging 4.7 yards carry. There's a good chance he's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. There's a really, really good chance that Jackson Dart is going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think he looked really, really good. I think he's going to have a year where he rushed for over 1,000 yards for the Raiders. So I think Ashton Genty has a very, very good chance to win Offensive Rookie of the Year for the Raiders. Number 2 for me. Number 2. Let me just look. Number 2 for me is let me think. I was thinking, do I have the Bengals at 2 or what do I got at 2? I'm just looking. The Bengals defense. They are absolutely terrible, and they're going to need Trey Hendrickson back. The Bengals defense is absolutely going to need Trey Hendrickson. They absolutely are. They just because you look at this defense in the first couple of games of the preseason, it's been terrible. This first team defense has been terrible. So number 2, they need Trey Hendrickson back. The Bengals defense needs Trey Hendrickson back. And number 1, what we just talked about with the Colts. I'm surprised that they went to Daniel Jones. I am surprised they went, because it looked even from what we saw in week 2 of the preseason. It looked even, and I thought if it looked even, they were going to go with Richardson. But I am surprised they were going to go with Daniel Jones. So those are my 5 takeaways. Justin, what are your 5 takeaways?
My 5 takeaways. Number 1 for me, another week, another Trayvon Henderson highlight. Had another touchdown Saturday. He's looking really, really good. The speed, the playmaking instincts. He's probably going to win this starting running back job. I'm just very excited to have him in the backfield. So Trayvon Henderson been really impressive so far. Number 4 for me, another running back, Nick Chubb, has shown some kind of vintage, kind of some of his old kind of vintage plays. Against, I know the Titans' offensive line, isn't great, but I've liked kind of what I've seen. And if Joe Mixon held these 2, I think there's a nice little 1-2 combo there in Houston with the running game, which was not great last year, wasn't great really even 2 years ago. So they've been trying to find it. So kind of excited to see what the running game kind of looks like with those 2. Number 3 for me is your New York Giants, and I guess you could throw a Jackson Dart in there as well. They've been very impressive, especially Jackson Dart. And I think the Giants in a whole, I know it may not look like in the win column, but I think they're going to be better than a lot of people think they are. Like, I think that defense is going to steal you guys a game or 2 at least. And hey, if Dart or Wilson could play decent enough and your defense could keep you in it, I don't think the Giants are going to, I thought there was a chance the Giants could end up with a number 1 pick. Maybe they still could with that schedule, but I think it's unlikely now at this point. So I've been very impressed with the Giants, especially the defense, especially the way Dart's played as well. My second one, the team they played Saturday night, is the Jets. Fields looked awful throwing the football. He was 1 for 5 with 4 yards, and penalty. They still had 7 penalties. And look, in 2025, their defense didn't even be that good. Trying to be a ground and pound team like that, it ain't gonna work. And the Jets could be setting up for another long year. I like Aaron Glenn. I think they finally have somebody that's gonna hold guys accountable. But that's gonna take some time to get ready. And number 1 for me, as well, here is the Bengals defense. Just they're lucky Sam Hartman looked pretty bad there, or they could have gave up more points. Yeah, they need a lot of help. They need a lot more than Trey. I know Trey Henderson would be nice to get back, but they need a lot more than just him right now. They're a mess, and then even that offensive line is a disgrace as well. Like, good luck to Joe Burrow, because that guy's gonna have to play a lot. They're gonna put so much on his shoulders this year. It's gonna be it's gonna be a tough uphill sledding for the Bengals. I'm really down on this team, and I just I don't have any confidence in a coach like Zach Taylor to really improve this football team week in and week out. So yeah, the Bengals could be in for. I've been down on them all off season, but I feel more confident about that right now, because they need another hero effort from Joe Burrow for 16 or 17 games yet again.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with the Bengals. You hit the nail on the head with the Bengals. Yeah, their defense, as I said earlier, has been terrible. And the offensive line, which you brought up, that offensive line, yeah, that really struggled. And Washington doesn't have a great front either. And they played some of their ones. So that offensive line really struggled on Monday night. It really did. And then talking about the Jets. Yeah, that passing game I think that has a chance to be the worst passing game in the league. With their lack of depth at the receiver positions, Fields not being the best thrower of the football. I could see that that passing game really, really struggling for the Jets, because Justin Fields was not good on Saturday night. But staying in New Jersey, the Pats and Giants play their final preseason game of the year, and we'll talk about what we want to see from each of our teams tomorrow night. It looks like both. I know for sure the Patriots aren't going to play their starters. It looks like there's a good chance the Giants won't play their starters too. But what I'm looking for the most is, it's pretty obvious, Jackson Dart to continue to play well, to continue to prove that there's a good chance that if Russell struggles this year, that he's ready to go in. Can he end up winning that number 2 job over Jameis Winston? Because right now, Winston is ahead of Wilson Winston is ahead of Dart on the depth chart. So can Jackson Dart continue to play well? That's my biggest thing I'm looking for from the Giants on tomorrow night.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of the same thing with Dart. Just kind of looking at how he does. Continuing to see how he looks, and if he could take that number 2 spot. Did you want me to do my Patriot one? Or
yeah, do your Patriot one.
Yeah, my Patriot. Yeah, for me, it's because you mentioned none of the starters in play. I'm just interested to see how the depth of the offensive line looks.
Good point. Because that's the key this year.
Yeah, it is, and there's always off in the line injury, so I want to see kind of how a couple of those guys look, just in case we do lose one of our starters up, early on, and who could kind of replace. So I know that the Giants, they won't play the starters here, but yeah, I'm still just kind of interested to see how they look against the second teamers, and just kind of that's about it, because I don't think there's really a big kind of positional spot. I think Henderson's going to win that running back spot, but even if not, he's still going to get plenty of touches at this point. So for me, it's just kind of looking at the depth on the offensive line.
Yeah, that's a good point with the offensive line, because it seems like outside of Mason and Uwenu that everything's kind of up for grabs. Like a lot of positions are up for grabs there, and that's going to be a key to the Patriots this year, is that offensive line. It really is. I mean, it was terrible last year. It will be great, but if it could be improved this year, and if Diggs can pan out, this very easily could be a playoff team, because I think defensively they're going to have a good defense. I think they're going to have a top 10 defense with Vrabel and the additions they made, and Harold Landry and Carlton Davis. Some of the additions they made, I think they're going to be a top 10 defense. The offense, I think Drake May's fine. I like Ramondre Stevenson and obviously the guy you brought up, Travion Henderson. I like them in the run game, but the biggest key is going to be the pass catchers and that offensive line. Offensive line is probably going to be the biggest key, is that offensive line. If those two things are good, Patriots, there's a very good chance that Patriots will have double-digit wins and be a playoff team this year.
Yeah, that absolutely could be the case. With their schedules not being as, their schedule's not daunting this year, and their offensive line could just be better than it was last year, which I think can be. Things should be a lot better for them, because it was abysmal last year. They gave up 52 sacks, and there was times where Drake May literally caught the ball and there was already 3 guys in his face. So, that's, I agree with you. I think it's a great point that it's probably their biggest kind of key this year. Those things can click. The wide receivers, I really liked what Kyle Wilson's looked like at the wide receiver spot, the rookie coming in from Washington State. I think he's looked pretty good. Douglas has looked good. So, I feel good about some of the pass catches they get, but yeah, now it's kind of the offensive line. Campbell, I think, looked all right, but we'll kind of see what happens when he gets in there kind of week 1. So yeah, I think for them, the offensive line could come together. They have some depth there, which they really haven't had either the last couple of years. But again, they really haven't had starters either. So things come together. I think this team should be in the playoffs, especially with the rest of the division outside of Buffalo, which they might even have their own problems with that secondary still.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with the Pats and the Giants in preseason this Thursday. Not any start. It looks like no starters will play, but still be interesting to see the position battles for both those two teams. But we're going to wrap the show talking some college football, and Week 0 begins in Ireland as Iowa State faces Kansas State. You got to be excited for that. We got the matchup between the two teams, and then we got Kansas State as a 3-point favorite. But Justin, can the team that lost the Big 12 title game, can they avenge that loss and win on opening day in Ireland?
I got the Wildcats in this one, 24-17. The one of the best rivalry names, Farmageddon. I really like this K-State team, and it feels like them and Arizona State, I think, are 1-2 this year in the Big 12, and nobody's really talking about it. Everybody's Utah. Texas Tech spent a lot of money, so they're all kind of a lot of people like them. Even Baylor, the way they kind of finished the season last year. So I really like this this Kansas State team. Avery Johnson, I think, could take the next step this year. They got Dylan Edwards back at running back, and the both quarterbacks, are back this year, and only one of those wide receivers is really back that was a main contributor from last year, and that Kansas State's got that guy in J.C. Brown, who had over 800 yards last year. So I think, Iowa State lost some talent. They got like 13 starters coming back, but Iowa State's not usually a program that can replenish talent that quickly. I think they're still going to be good in the top half of the league, but I am a little bit higher right now on Kansas State in this one. I got them winning 24-17.
I'm going to go Iowa State here. I think they got their quarterback coming back, got their running back coming back. And here's the thing. The loss of Giddens, I think, is going to hurt Kansas State. I think that's what's going to hurt them. I'm going to go 24-21 Iowa State. I think Matthew Campbell's team gets the job done. I think they do. But more of a question on the Big 12. Do you think it's wide open this year?
Oh, yeah. I think it's wide open again. I don't think we're going to see the last place team win it again this year, or the team that was voted in last place. But I think it is wide open again. I think Utah, Devin Dampier, electrifying quarterback. I don't think he's going to win Heisman. But I think he's a dark horse Heisman candidate. If Utah could run the table and maybe win the Big 12, I could see him sitting there in New York. I think Arizona State's gonna be good again. They got a ton of guys back. Iowa State, Kansas State are gonna be right there as well. I think Baylor's pretty stacked as well. Texas Tech spent, I think, close to $20 million, I believe it was. They're going to be good, but can Morton, their starting quarterback, stay healthy? He really hasn't throughout his career. So I really do think the Big 12 is pretty wide open. And right now, if you gave me a guess, I'd probably go Utah. But again, there's, I think I just mentioned 6-7 teams that I think could win the whole thing again. So yeah, I think, they're probably going to get one team in the playoffs again, but I think it's being a very competitive conference again, which is great because you don't usually get that the Power 4 level very often.
No, usually SEC, the SEC and Big Ten are usually pretty top heavy. So yeah, the Big 12, just like last year, looks like, as you said, looks like a conference where a lot of teams are going to beat each other up. Now, moving on to the Big Ten, we got to get to a couple things. And first, the Michigan sign stealing scandal and the penalties were handed down. Sharon Moore suspended for 3 games, I think 2 games this year, and then a game the year before. We all know the NCAA definitely went soft on Michigan, especially not no. I think no postseason ban is more important than vacated wins, because to me vacated wins make what do vacated wins do? They kind of do nothing, because it's not like the other team wins the game. It's kind of like in 04 when USC's title is vacated. Well, does Oklahoma win the national title? No, they still lost the national title to USC. So that's the thing. And then when Penn State had those wins taken away, and I know they ended up getting them back, but when they had them taken away, what was more important was the postseason ban. The postseason ban is a lot more important than the vacated wins, in my opinion. And Michigan got neither. They got Sharon Moore will be suspended for a couple of games. But do you see this as being a trend? I know we all know the NCAA went soft to them. That was obvious. But do you see this being a trend going forward, that the NCAA is going to be softer and not give teams postseason bans for stuff like this? Do you see this being a trend with the NCAA?
I think potentially because so I thought, yeah, maybe they should have got a postseason ban. Their explanation was we don't want to punish the guys that are on this team that had nothing to do with it, which does kind of tick me off because like remember those APR scores? Like remember you kind of
Yeah,
got hit in 2012 with that and
I
in like
know.
014.
And
Like they
that
moved,
013 team could have done something that year too. That
they were playing
013
well down
team,
the stretch.
they would have made
They played well.
the tournament. And Shabazz Napier was playing Boatwright. They were playing well. That 013 team could have done something. And the thing is if they didn't get banned, Oriaki's on that team.
Yeah, Oriaki would have been Roscoe Smith. No, yeah, Roscoe. There's one. With the UNLV, Roscoe Smith. I think. Yeah, two would have been there. Who I liked. Yeah, like it. Yeah, like and it stunk too because that was the last Big East tournament too. Like that was like
Yeah,
I know it's
and
but like the old version of the Big East. So
yeah, they didn't play in
that
it.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did it. And then Akron this year. I don't think they're making a bowl game, but they got their APR score from like 5 years ago. So that's what they're saying. That's a little hypocritical by the NCAA. But to me, it felt like it was more of a professional sport league punishment or
Yeah.
penalty because of the fines. I think it's gonna be up to 35 million. That's where you hurt them now because the football team's still gonna get their funding, but maybe it trickles down to the baseball team or the volleyball team or the soccer team that's gonna get hurt a little bit more from this. So I think you're gonna see more fines like suspension or fine penalties now than maybe the postseason stuff, which because I think the NCAA knows now that they're not as high and mighty as they once thought they were. And I do think the show clauses too are funny. Like, yeah, Jim Harbaugh is gonna come back. Jim Harbaugh is gonna come back to college sports and coach again. Yeah, I always think that's kind of funny when they give something like that out. And Moore's gonna miss a one game next year, which they're playing Western Michigan over in Ireland next year, so that's not gonna be a big deal.
Not
so
a punishment.
we'll have two Ireland games next year. Bill Belichick's taking TCU out there as well.
Wow.
We'll have two Ireland games next year. But yeah, so to me, the NCAA could have maybe done a little bit more at the postseason ban, but to me, it feels like, hey, you're going to get fined now, which that's now in this day and age of funding and NIL stuff. That's maybe we're here at the athletic department a little bit more.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening in Michigan going forward. We'll wrap up talking about Ohio State, and they named a starter on Monday, Julian Sayin. He's going to be starting quarterback for. Am I saying it right, Julian Sayin?
Yeah, Julian Sayin. Yep.
Julian Sayin. So he'll be the starter for Ohio State. And the question really is he going to have a better year than Will Howard? Because he's going to. I mean, obviously he's going to have to if Ohio State's going to. Because they've lost so many guys if they're going to win. Do you think he could be a better player than Will Howard this season for Ohio State?
I think he could be. They're very high on him. He committed to Alabama under Nick Saban. Transferred out after he retired. Think he committed after he retired. Or no. He think he came after the spring last year at Alabama. When he wasn't gonna get the job. But everything I've kind of read about him and remember when we came out of high school is he's got a very high IQ level. He's pretty accurate. He's poised and he's got all the physical tools, the arm strength to kind of be the next I don't want to say the next Ohio State quarterback that has got the NFL potential and all that. So they're very high on him. I know it was a little bit more of a race than I think once thought because Luke Keinholzer did give him a pretty good battle and he's a really good athlete out of the state of South Dakota. I think he was a 3-star athlete up there. So they gave him a battle, but everything you read about saying they're very, very high on the kid, and it's going to help that you got Cardell Tate and Jeremiah Smith throwing too. So, I think he could potentially be better than Will Howard. The one thing about Howard is, because Will Howard just more of a game manager last year. They had all the talent. He just couldn't make the big mistake, which I know in the Michigan game he did, but other than that, he played pretty well. Yeah, saying, he's going to be a freshman. There's probably going to see some freshman mistakes in there. That's going to happen. But I think the upside with Saints is better than Will Howard.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with the defending national champs. They begin their season at home against Texas at noon next Saturday, and we'll definitely be talking about that next week. So next week we'll start we'll get back to doing 2 shows because we're getting into the fall. So we'll get back to doing 2 shows. We'll have our NFL season preview, and we're gonna have our second show will be previewing week 1 of the college football season. We'll be doing that, and we'll be talking more baseball. So for Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We'll be back next week doing what I said, doing our NFL season preview and talking about the first week of college football and talking some baseball. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Burn, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.